the end of work as you know it. Welcome to WorkEND, a Neurodiversity Podcast, a monthly panel discussion exploring the innovative world of neurodivergent individuals redefining work. Join us as we share unique perspectives, experiences, and ideas. Brought to you by Umbrella US and hosted by the fabulous Salena Gavin. This platform features candid conversations with neurodivergent self-advocates and allied community members. Gain firsthand insights into their journeys and discover how ND traits have become powerful assets while challenges continue to be present. Whether you're seeking belonging, inspiration, and new understanding, or aiming to create a more inclusive workspace, WorkEND, a Neurodiversity podcast, offers knowledge, personal stories, and actionable insights. Subscribe today to reshape your perception of work and expend energy in a brand new way.
Hello, all you amazing humans. It's that time again.
Hey!
How you doing, AJ?
I'm good, Salena. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's just me and you tonight.
It's just me and you. And anybody who joins us live, I have a feeling that things have been crazy, right? With the eclipse and all of that.
Yes.
And it feels like people's energy has just been a little, like so much was put into that, whether it was by themselves or by people around them.
Right.
People are just kind of like, I'm just going to shut down right now.
Yes.
So it might be a quiet night for us on here live.
Right.
But I know, I already know because we've already talked about this so much, that what we're going to talk about today is going to hit some nerves.
Yeah.
There might be some people who are like really excited about it. And then there might be some other people who are like, hey, no, I disagree. And it'll be interesting to see how this conversation evolves over time.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, because so right here, the name of the show today is it depends on whether you're on YouTube right now or LinkedIn, because LinkedIn made me shorten it. I can only use 75 characters. But on YouTube, it was, why are so many white women being diagnosed autistic? That was the title. Because really you can go and Google and you see all of this, and it doesn't say white women anywhere on there. In fact, I went and looked. There's not a whole bunch of articles that are point blank white women, but let's bring that to the surface, because really there's a huge discrepancy in number.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get talking about that, aren't we?
I'm starting to think, do you think it has anything to do with the opioid epidemic?
Whoo, you're just going to go there, aren't you?
I'm going there. I just dove right in. I'm just wondering, because, the opioid epidemic is more of like a health crisis. That's so different. Like they need treatment, and that would make sense.
Yeah. I mean, anytime we see something like that, when people are using substances to self-treat because they don't have access to the care that they need. So they're using the things that they can get their hands on.
Exactly.
And it's really not that hard to get your hands on that stuff.
No.
Whatever they want to say, it is really hard for the people who really need it. And it seems to be really easy for the people who don't need it.
Oh my Lord. That is
Or I should say who don't need it, but they are using it to get other needs met.
Right.
Because I don't, let's be honest here. Addiction is a neurodivergence. So we don't want to push anybody out and say that that's not valid, because it absolutely is.
Definitely.
What we do want to talk about is I did not know you were going to bring this up, but it is part of it. So, let's talk about that today a little bit, of how it coincides. And we really are talking about wellness, and we're talking about access. And this is kind of a follow-up from last month.
Yes.
Our amazing guest last month, and then an introduction going into our amazing guest, who we will announce probably not today, but soon, because we're waiting for that final confirmation that this is going to
Sweet.
happen in May. Even if we have to pre-record it, I think it's going to happen in May because it belongs after this episode.
Okay.
And she has verified that she's coming.
Awesome.
Yes, we just need to plan those little the you know,
The little
all the
kinky
stuff in the
stuff.
background to
Yeah.
make sure. Did you say kinky stuff?
I did say kinky
You
stuff.
did say kinky
Jesus.
stuff.
I meant like the kinks out.
We are
I
not
swear that's what
necessarily-
I meant.
We're not necessarily going to be talking about kink next time, but we could have an episode on that because sex work is work. So we could absolutely have a whole conversation about that and how that relates to being neurodivergent. And
Oh my word.
I am an expert in that field.
Yes, you are.
As a certified sexologist. So if people want to have that conversation, let us know and we'll see what we can do to make it happen.
And I'm not trying to be TMI, but I haven't had that in a long time and I need it.
There you go. And that's what I mean. Like, it's a need,
We
right?
need to talk about it. Yes.
And
yes.
as ND folks, some of us do not get those needs met because relationships can be difficult, because people don't understand us, because there's so many reasons there why that need goes unmet, and maybe that even plays a little bit into what we wanted to talk about tonight, which is, why the hell do we keep seeing all these 40-plus-year-old white women getting diagnosed with autism and ADHD?
Right.
Hi, 40-plus-year-old
white woman diagnosed with autism and ADHD.
Right. Diagnosed with ADHD, 25 years ago almost.
Exactly.
And diagnosed autistic, now, but within the last couple of years. But that is hurting the community a little bit because that's the voice that is being heard. And it's a valid voice, but it's just another one of those societal things that says it doesn't mean that Black women and other marginalized groups of women are not needing care.
Right.
They're just not receiving that care. They don't have access to that care. Right? Look at me. I just took over host.
No, take it, girl. Take it. No, because it's
what I do.
Yes. Yes, girl, take it.
That's why they're like, hey, do this budget.
Yes.
I'm just like, okay, give it here. Let me get this shit done.
Exactly. Because I didn't realize it until you brought it up, of how many are actually being diagnosed and how many I have witnessed, women acknowledging that they are, and me in my head trying to, and then I'm saying to myself, well, who am I to say someone is or isn't? Do you know what I mean? Like, each person, but I mean, what's going on? You know?
What's going on? And there's a lot going on. But I think there's some pieces of the conversation that are seriously missing, and hopefully we can touch on some of those today. Before we do that, can I please, though, I'm going to say this, and maybe I need to type it into a banner too. Autism and ADHD are not
coexisting. The
only types of neurodivergence.
Right.
We have talked a little bit about another type of neurodivergence that you have.
Right.
And a lot of people don't think of that as neurodivergence. Do you want to talk about that for like 2 seconds? Or however long you want to talk about it?
Is it, are we talking about my stroke?
We are talking about your stroke.
Yes. I had a stroke 2 years ago. Yeah, it's 2 years ago now. And it affected my short-term memory. I've definitely gotten much better. The reason I have is because I've done brain exercises, just, doing things myself to try to help my memory. But it totally shot my short-term memory to the point where I'm often very confused, and I often forget about things. Now, I already had that problem because I had ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then now I have this stroke. Okay, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? Is this a symptom of the stroke? Is this a symptom of my ADHD? Did the stroke make it just worse? And now it's just quadrupled. And so now I've just done modifications to help myself remember things, but it is very cumbersome and it gets very exhausting, extremely exhausting. The effort that I have to put in just to remember things. It's, and then to try to explain it to people, because it also, to me, is a shortcoming, because I'm still looking at it as there's something bad wrong with me. I'm broken.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I was already broken, and now you broke something else. So, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
You further broke something that was already broken. And now what do I do?
Right. Right.
And will people understand? You know, just like what happened to me this morning that I told you, I'm not ashamed to say, you know, I had a yearly review today and it wasn't too hot for my, you know what I mean, for my job. And I struggle because, like I told you, AJ, my passion is people, children.
Mm-hmm.
That's my passion. That's what I want to do. And that's what I do. And I am damn good at it. Okay.
Yes.
I fall by the wayside when we start to get into paperwork and entering data and pre and post test and all
number. Yep. And numbers.
This
right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So all that stuff. And I just care about this kid right here who I know is struggling, and the odds are against them times 10. That's where my focus is. But I also know that I'm between a rock and a hard place, because I can't have this without this. So I have to figure out how to balance it. And I honestly, guys, I'm talking to you. I'm struggling. I'm honestly struggling. I came to my office today. I sat in the chair and I was like, what do I do? How do I do this? I know I can do it. I just need to know how. I don't know how.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that is coming from a woman who is not getting kids ready for school in the morning, and who is not doing, you do some caretaking of yourself and others outside of work, but who is not doing this necessarily the same level of caretaking of, say, 3 kids, 2 dogs, and elderly parents all living in the same house.
Exactly. You know, I do, my mom, she's 71. That's a stressor. I'm telling you, you know what I mean? So I get it. And then I think, just like the story I told you, if you don't mind, can I tell it again about my student? Okay. Me and AJ were talking, and I don't want to mess up the ACEs, correct? About,
Yep. Because this is a big lead into what we're going to be talking about next month with our really cool specialist who's going to come in and talk about this. So absolutely, I think it's a good conversation, and we can use that as a lead in to talk about the caretakers for this person and what they're going through. Yeah, absolutely.
So me and AJ are talking in our weekly meetings we have, and we're talking about how, a lot of our children have so many, should I call them obstacles or
adverse experiences.
There we go. Adverse experiences and things that they are dealing with that are making it more difficult for them to be a child and to maturationally progress the way a child should. So we were talking about that, and So I leave and I enter work and my kids come and I have a young girl, she's 12. She comes to me and she starts talking to me about how she was writing an essay and she chose to write the essay for school about her mom. She's already lost her mom to breast cancer, okay? And she's only 12. She asked me when I was going to start teaching classes about drugs and alcohol. I do that with my older kids. And I asked her very soon, I'm going to get back on, that lesson trail. And I said, why? And she said, because, my older brother, he's struggling really bad. He's vaping and he's on probation and house arrest. And he's just really, really bad. And I don't know what I'll do if I lose him. And I said, okay, I can help you with that. You want some knowledge so you can help him. And she said, yes. And she said, but my dad would like for me to come live with him. And I said, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, that would be great. And I said, where's your dad? And she said, he lives in Florida, but he's in jail right now. And I didn't want that to give her that look on my face. Right. But I just kind of sat back and I said, excuse my language, damn. She's 12. She's 12. Right. Okay. And all she should be doing is going to school, learning, hanging out with her friends. And those were just 3 things that she's dealing with because there's much more.
Right.
And so what I said to myself was, no. I'm going to be the person that gives this child those positive childhood experiences that may change what the research shows us she is inevitably going to end up to be as an adult.
Right.
I want to change that.
Right.
That is more important to me than me entering data or going to trainings where they're just repeating themselves about
going to trainings where you have psychologists who work with children who have never heard of adverse or positive childhood experiences and the huge amounts of research that has been done on this that seriously affects marginalized community members.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what those trainings should be about.
Right. No, that's not what they're about. That's not what they're about. That is not what they're about. So I come here and I'm sitting in front of these supervisors and, I'm bombing. I'm not doing well. I'm bombing out. But you know what I'm saying? I'm saying, well, why don't any of you ever come in here and talk to my kids? Why don't you observe what I do in this room every day? How I control this room, because it ain't easy. How I get work out of these kids. I got folders full of work. And then when I pass it all out, you should see the smiles on the face like, what? We did all this? Yes. Me and you. We did all of this. Do you know what I mean? But you don't want to see that. Right. You just want to know if I went to this training, if I got my data in the 2-week period, and did they do the pre and post test?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I got
this is what educators deal with all the time without extra supports being put in place to do that data entry.
Exactly.
One planning period a day is not enough, y'all. One planning period a day is not enough to do all of the work that it takes to be able to create the relationships with these children and also do all of the data entry and the paperwork that is required by grants, by curriculum companies, by all of these things. And you made a good point of, well, why aren't you in here doing this with me? Well, here's why. Because we only have so much time, effort, and energy to put in to certain things. Yours is going into the caretaking. Theirs is going into the administration. But here's why so many women and people who, I don't want to just say women, because we've also got a lot of transgender individuals and individuals who are regularly in the caretaking space.
Right.
Okay. But this is why we are seeing so many of these people being diagnosed.
Yeah.
We're seeing the white ones because the white ones have access to it. And the white ones don't have stigma and bias against it within their own community in the same way that the Black community has,
Right.
or that other racially marginalized communities have. And so that's an obstacle. But let's talk about, because I'm going to bring this right back to something that you said last week when we were talking. I said to you, well, women don't just have a first shift that they work. There's this whole theory out there called second shift. You can Google it if you want to. But then there's also third and fourth shift. And what that means is first shift that a woman has is the job, right? You've got your career. You've got, on top of that, you have the caretaking that happens of of children, of relationship, of maybe elderly parents. And who is starting to have elderly parents? 40-plus-year-old women, right? Right, exactly. So this is why that age is happening there, technology and social media and the conversations, and that has helped support people wondering and
Right.
getting diagnosed. But we have this there. We have this 12-year-old girl who already is going to school and doing the caretaking. Then there's this other thing of, as a woman, you're supposed to look good. You're supposed to expend energy smiling and being nice and being gentle and being kind, and all of these things that society tells us that it means to be a woman.
Right.
And if you're too loud, you're a bitch, and all of these different things. And that's another shift of its own.
Whole nother shift.
Right? So now we've got 3 shifts going on, because we've got that self-care piece in there that is expected. Who isn't allowed to self-care? Because self-care is expensive, right? It's been monetized, and capitalism says self-care looks like getting your hair done. And if you don't have the money to get your hair done, then you don't deserve to be taken care of.
Right. Or love.
Right? So that, just trying to deal with that, I would say that there's another shift there. There's hours and hours and hours in a day that people are expending energy on these things.
Right.
Women more so, and lots of studies have been done. There was a study done during COVID. Here's on CNBC. They're talking about before the pandemic, mothers were already working a double shift, finishing the workday and then coming home to do more housework and childcare. And I would say not just mothers, caretakers were already doing that double shift, whether they had children or not. Children just adds to the number of people you're taking care of, but not the number of hours that you are caretaking. So with coronavirus, it says what you have is a double shift. Mothers are spending 20 more hours a week on housework and childcare during coronavirus than fathers. 20 more hours a week is half of a full-time job.
I mean, and you're trying to wonder, when is there time for any of that other stuff? When is there time to sleep properly?
Well, proper sleep is self-care, and how dare you if you don't do it.
Exactly.
Shame on you. Now, spend time dealing with your shame.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, insurance doesn't cover it if you have insurance in the first place. Oh, and you're not going to get off work You are not going to get off work to go to therapy or go to the doctor or any of these things. And if you take too many days off work, then you're going to get fired.
Yeah, and you only get 6. I get 6. You only get 6 days. Sick. I can't even say it. That's how preposterous it is. It's absurd. That's why I can't say it. 6 sick days a year. A year. And then after that, baby, it just starts taking your vacation, babe.
Right.
Then you don't have a vacation.
Right. One of the things you said before we came on was, how much time do you get off for maternity leave? And I said, oh, well, you're guaranteed to get 6 weeks off. But it doesn't.
Baby, you had another human being. It came out of you.
Right.
6 weeks.
But it doesn't have to be paid. All you have to do is be guaranteed that you still have a job in 6 weeks. A job at equal value. It doesn't even have to be the same job. It just has to be at equal value to the job that you had.
So you can go back to something completely different as long as it
go back to something different as long as it was the same level. Yeah, like
wow.
Your pay can't be changed, basically.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I don't understand where society came together and decided that all of these, I don't even know what you want to call them, that these were good ideas, that this was good. I mean, you look at the United States as a whole, we are falling behind in education, like times 10. I remember Dr. Phil, I love Dr. Phil.
I know you love you some Dr. Phil.
That's my man, right? And he had a show on, and it was like, the show was like, are our children getting dumber? That was the title. Are they dumber? And then you sit there and you're like, well, I work with our children.
Right.
They're not getting what they need. They're not getting their needs.
They're not getting dumber.
Right. They're not dumb.
They're smart and they're getting smarter, but
at the wrong things.
They're definitely not getting the education that they need.
Right.
And there's all kinds of context in that. And I might even argue with Dr. Phil a little bit on, and I'm, maybe he went into the context, but it is just a 1 hour show and, But
there was a lot more. Don't, I'm just saying the little title because he was saying, he's looking at statistics and he's saying what's going on. Why is our education, why is there such a decline? What is going on? Was it COVID? Was it happening before COVID? Yes, it was happening way before COVID.
It was happening way before that. Way before that. What's really funny to me is they took out the arts and the home ec and these courses, and they said the reason they were doing that is because they wanted to make more time for literacy and math and science. Well, those things
what did that do?
Right, those things have been taken out now, and we have still been experiencing a decline.
Exactly.
Some of this may be due to what we're talking about of having too damn many things to do to be able to care for the people who need to be cared for.
Exactly.
Because teachers spend a lot of time. I know, I was one.
Okay.
Teachers spend a lot of time doing the paperwork. Every time I sat back, you know me, I'm systematic.
Yes, you
right? Every time I went to look at something, it was, how can I minimize the amount of time that I'm going to have to spend on doing paperwork? So feedback happened in the moment in the classroom for me. But I had to learn how to do that. I had to play around with stuff and do things in a different way that took a lot of energy, that worked the way my brain works, not the way that a whole bunch of other people's brains work.
Exactly.
To be able to do all of that kind of at the same time and look at it in a very, very non-traditional way.
My brain would be like silly putty. No,
I don't think it would.
Well, I mean,
Maybe doing the math. Maybe doing the math stuff that sometimes has to happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes.
But we would find supports for that.
Right.
If I were working with you, I would work with you in a way that worked with your brain, right? So that it wasn't extra work.
Right.
Right? We don't want it to be extra work. We're trying to take the workload off
Of people.
Yes, that has always been my goal. It was always like, how?
And you know what? And it was beautiful. The one thing that we did do, I've always had a second job. I've always worked in retail. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like retail had gotten
Miss
ridiculous.
Salena loves her side hustle.
And it's legal. My legal side hustle. And I used to always have to, it got so bad where I was literally going to work on Thanksgiving, on the day. And I was thinking, I think I'm going to pretty soon be working on Christmas Day too. I think they're just going to be open like after 3 on Christmas Day because it was getting that bad.
Right.
And then I think, they took a look at that and they were trying to promote family togetherness and all of these good things. And I thought maybe things were heading in the right direction.
Uh-huh.
But
capitalism says that can't happen.
Right.
And not only that, the people who need that money, they're doing that because they need that money, are begging to not have this happen. Okay, here's an example that's in the news right now.
Okay.
All of these companies in California are closing down because they are small businesses, restaurants,
Okay.
that have more than 60 chains nationwide. So if they have that number or more, then they have to pay the new minimum wage, which is, I think, $20 an hour. I could be wrong on that, but which is it went up from I think it was $15.75 to $20
Yeah, it was around
an hour.
there.
Yeah, and so they said a lot of them are going out of business, and the people are losing their jobs, and they're like, I would rather keep my job at $15.75 an hour
Exactly.
than the business go under because they can't pay me $20.
And now I don't have a job.
And now I don't have a job.
And that trickles down to I don't have a job. I can't support my family. I don't have health care. I mean, it just goes and goes and goes.
Who is affected the most in that situation when you have small business restaurants with servers going out of business? It is the marginalized people who are making
the servers,
very many
people, the bus boys, the servers,
right,
all those. Yes,
right.
You're absolutely right.
Right. And it's the single mom who works this job so she can go to work at 5:00 in the morning and be there to pick her kids up after school. Right? Because the kid's grandma stays with them in the morning and goes to work after they go after school. Like there are all of these things.
There's all these things, right?
And it's these caretakers who are not having access to the care. And then you have folks who are in here's the white women. Here's the white women who we're talking about.
And then you're talking about care. On the news not too long ago, they were talking about childcare and how, people open up these childcare businesses in their homes and things of that nature. And it works out very well for a lot of single marginalized women. Okay. Because they got odd hours. Okay. And they're able to do like the third shift and all these things. But what's happening, okay, is that the toppers are putting so many stipulations,
yes,
okay, on what they have to have that they can't do it.
Right.
So they're closing down.
Right.
So now these women have no child care. And then we have another trickle down effect.
Right.
So, exactly.
Right.
I don't understand it. It's like the same thing I was talking about here. I can't help these kids the way I want to because I got to worry about this stuff.
Right.
And this stuff is important because if I don't have this stuff, I don't have the money.
Exactly.
and on the job.
Right. It's interconnected, but what happens is we have the wrong conversations, and we focus on the wrong folks.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we ask these questions, we say, is this the best decision for the most marginalized individual of this team, of this community? And if it's not, then if we make it best for them,
Mm-hmm.
it's also going to be best for everybody who is less marginalized than they are.
Right.
Right? That's the thing. And so when we are looking at this and asking the question of why is there so much increased diagnosis? Well, there's so much increased diagnosis because that's what we talked about last week. The boomers, their parents were stay at home.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the white folks.
Not the black folks.
Right? There we go.
At home. Who stayed at home?
Exactly. So let's talk about that for a minute. Sorry, this has been going through my head all day while I've been doing other work. I've been like so excited to make sure that we talk about all of these things because this is the crux of the whole thing. You and I are having a conversation and I'm like, oh, did you see this article? And it's talking about this. And you said, yeah, but that's not the Black woman's experience because the boomers' parents, mom was in the house working a job serving the white folks. So this is why so many white women are being diagnosed who are 40 plus years old.
They can't handle it.
It's new to them, right? Mm-hmm. It's new to them. And they are trying to manage a 40-hour work week, haha, because it's ever 40 hours. So, but let's say a 40-hour work week.
Listen, white women get a diagnosis. Black women and minorities get a stereotype.
Right. They don't get the care. They don't get access to the care.
Right.
Right. They don't have doctors
right.
who understand the bias and the lack of access. And when you go to a doctor, we've had this conversation before. If you go to a doctor and you need medication for ADHD,
you know how hard it was?
Tell us.
Because basically, it was believed that I wanted to do something else with the medication. And we all know what that was. My psychiatrist would not. I had documentation, tons of it, that I have ADHD. I was on ADHD medicine before and would not. Was going to make me go through the whole evaluation process again in order for me to get and I'm sure it would have been the minimal and I would have had to go through, all of that. Mm-hmm. And then, excuse my language, but Karen over here, she's been getting it forever.
Right. She went to her doctor and said, I think I have ADHD. I read this article and here it is. Sure, that's not the experience of all of us, right? That is absolutely not the experience. So we don't want to create an us versus them scenario here.
No.
But the truth is that that's the reality, that you get looked at very differently than I do for asking for the same thing.
Right. And for some reason, I am not knowledgeable about myself. I don't know about myself. I'm not educated about myself. Therefore, what I'm saying is not factual and not believed. And I have to get sent to 3 other specialists at $40 a pop.
Oh, and take off work.
Oh, yeah. With the sick time, I don't have.
Sick time.
Right. That's now vacation time because I don't have any more of that. And I'm going to these doctors. It's ludicrous. what they put you through because they have a predisposed thought in their mind, a bias of what you're trying to do.
Now, is that the case if it's a white doctor or a doctor of any ethnicity that is not Black, or is that for all doctors?
Well, here's the thing.
Or have you ever seen a Black doctor?
Exactly. I was just about to say that. Okay. In Erie, PA, no. There, I have a Black OBGYN. And when she came here, let me just tell you, everybody was running. My word. I was like, I need the Black woman. I don't even care what her name is, what she looks like. I just want the Black woman. Okay. Can I have her? Because she understands. She's going to know what I'm talking about. And she did. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
She's going to know that I'm not crazy, that I'm not exaggerating pain, that I'm not lying to try to get pain medicine.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, and we all had the same, emotional response to that. So everybody wanted everybody eventually, that wanted her did get her. But as far as African-American doctors, there are very few. I was hospitalized one time. I had an ER experience in Maryland, and we went to the hospital. We had to go to the ER with my cousins. Now, my cousins are very they're in the six figures. Okay. So we're going to the hospital. Okay. And so we're going, and I got this anaphylactic thing, and I'm in there, and I'm like, here's me and my mom. We're like in awe because there's so many minority doctors. And guess what? They're not all from India, because that's
there's a reason for that.
Right. What is that?
They did a community project back in 40 years ago, 50 years ago or so, where they purposefully and intentionally integrated communities and worked together to get people doing community events together, understanding cultures, used to being with each other in the same spaces. It wasn't assimilation, which happens too often. It was true integration and appreciation of each other and different cultures. They actually purposefully did that, and it shows.
That's amazing, because that's the only other minority doctor that you would see in Erie. They would be someone from India, or, you know what I mean? Which I was happy. I was happy to get them. I just wanted somebody of color just to talk to. Maybe they'd understand, you know what I mean? But me and my mom were in awe. It's like we were in a museum. That's how we were acting. And then the doctor came in, and he introduced himself, and I'm also in awe because he's an African-American male. He's in it like his 40s. He's gorgeous. My mom's in the back, probably trying to hook me up. I know it. And let me just tell you, but this is what's sad. After he did that introduction, we were so ingrained in what our stereotype of what a doctor is, we totally ignored it.
Yeah.
And I was waiting to see the doctor still. I thought he was like the orderly person who was just coming in to get the vitals. Yeah. So I was like, oh, so when am I gonna? He's like, I'm sorry, I'm doctor. I was like, oh, you're the doctor? I was like, Mom, he's the doctor. And it was just my poor cousin. She's like, Jesus Christ. She's like, you have to understand, they're from someplace. They're from a place where they don't get to see an array of even law enforcement.
Right.
I have to say, here in Erie, law enforcement is getting better with having more minorities on the force. But at one time, it was all white males. And when I would go out of town, I couldn't believe it. What I would see in other areas.
Yeah.
But there are so many areas that are just like mine. And this is what my kids see. You know what I mean? When they go to school, they don't see people that look like them teaching.
Right.
They don't. I didn't.
Right.
So I know what they're seeing. They don't think that these careers and these jobs are attainable because they don't see anyone in their community that has attained it. Is that a word? Attained? Okay, I just made it a word.
Yeah, who's attained that level? Yeah, that's it.
Okay, yeah, because
That's a word, right?
I'm allowed to make words because I'm neurodivergent.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. You crack me up. I'm gonna drop this in comments and see if it'll go in comments. If it'll show up on the streams. So that was just that I dropped the link of the article that I was reading from.
Okay.
That's from a couple years ago, but so we are looking at the kids, the community that you serve, and you talked about this last week too. The community that you serve does not have access. In order to get access, often has to drive an hour or more to get a school physical.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. And usually those kinds of things are put on the mother or the primary caretaker. So those kinds of things are generally put on the primary caretaker, who statistically
is mom.
Right. And so mothers or the primary caretaker for other people, whether it's a disabled individual in the family, a disabled partner, elderly parents, siblings, whatever. I feel like I'm constantly trying to quantify this, but I really want people to understand that mothers are not the only caretakers.
Right, they're not.
You do not have to be a mother to qualify for what I'm talking about right now. And that is that it is your responsibility to be the caretaker. And that comes on top of making the money. And because of that, the energy and everything that is being spent is often being spent by the women. So now we have these 40-year-old plus white women who have access to care, who are going in and saying, I can't fucking do this anymore. Right? And I know I said a bad word, but that's what they're saying, right? Like, we're not going to pull any punches here. And they're saying that, and they're going, I can't. I can no longer do these things. And it's not because they can't do those things anymore. They haven't lost the ability to do those things. But now on top of it, whereas before perimenopause set in,
Girl, it's hot flash nation over here. Okay, do you see it? Do you see hot flash nation?
Where's your little
right? I know.
So let's say perimenopause comes in as early as 15 years before actual menopause. Okay, so now you have somebody who is neurodivergent. They maybe possibly don't already have a great relationship with their body because of interoception, and maybe not recognizing that they're feeling pain, or that they're feeling hunger, or that they have to pee, or that they need to take a drink, whatever these things are. They may already be experiencing problems in those areas. Now on top of it, their body is doing something. Most people listening can understand what it was like to go through puberty and remember, like, what the hell is my body going through, and kind of losing the mind that you had at that time, because it was all focused on this over here and trying to get through this period that felt really, really difficult. The same thing happens in pregnancy. The same thing happens in menopause, which again, menopause is just the end. Menopause is the last period. It's not a period of time.
Oh my God. When
Okay?
you say that, it's just like, it's over.
Right,
My
because
life is over. I've now reached the end, as AJ says.
so we have the three women, right? You have the maiden, the mother, and the crone, the three areas of life.
Yes.
So we have entered into crone age. And maybe it's because you've had a hysterectomy. Maybe it's because you've had chemotherapy. Whatever. These
Right.
things are neurodivergent conditions now piled on top of ADHD and autism, or maybe some other neurodivergent condition that has not been openly talked about as being neurodivergent, but it is because it affects the brain and the nervous system. So now I used to be able to deal with the lights buzzing. I'm going to fucking blow those lights up if I have to hear them buzz one more time. Why? Because I'm hot, I'm sweaty, my skin is feeling moist, and I can't stand that feeling. And I have to take a shower, but I don't want to take a shower because I'm going to cry when I get in the shower because I don't like to be wet.
Right.
And then I'm going to cry even harder when I get out of the shower because the period of between being wet and being dry is the most horrible thing ever.
So gross. It's so gross.
It's so gross. So now you have that is your normal. Now you have these additional things piling up on top of it. So now you're wet, you're moist all day long.
And other things.
Right? Your mouth is dry because
you see my face
medication.
And other things. My hair texture changed. It was yeah.
You smell different.
Yes.
Your body odor is different.
Oh.
Your dryness happens, and that does not feel good.
No.
That does not feel good.
No.
Your joints are achy, all of these things. And now, where you were able to mask before and go throughout the day and look like a typical person, whatever. Okay. Quotes for those people. You know what we forgot to do was we got so excited to talk that we didn't say what we looked like today.
Oh, we did it. I thought about it and then I just started talking. Okay.
That's okay. Can we do that really quickly?
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll edit it and I'll put it on the beginning. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hi everybody. I am AJ Locascio. My pronouns are she and they. I am a white, genderqueer woman with blue and black glasses, black hair with a gray streak in the front. It's short. I'm wearing headphones that have like rainbow glows on the side. Thanks, Razer. I love you, Razer. Sponsorship. And I have on an orange button down shirt from my favorite big girl shop, Torrid. Sponsorship. Hi. Anyway, thank you, Salena.
Okay. I am a African American female who's your fabulous host of the WorkEND. I am in my office and I am sitting behind my desk, and behind me is a fake brick blue wall, and I have blonde, very curly, bushy hair, and I am wearing a black and white checkered blouse. I have on big hoop earrings, which I always wear. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I got one hell of a big smile. And that's about it.
Awesome. I love it. I'll edit that and put it on because we are currently working on getting all of our episodes uploaded into the podcast network so that people can get it on all of their favorite podcast channels.
Oh my gosh. My friend the other day, I was about to tell her a story about me having a hard time getting certified as a school psychologist when I had to keep taking the test. Right. And so I was like, yeah, I had to keep taking. She was like, Salena, I already know. And I was like, how do you know? I've never told you that before. And she was like, I watched the podcast. Yes, I was so excited. So yeah, people are out there, people are listening, and I'm doing my best because I love this. And hey, we're good. We're damn good.
Very, very good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah. I don't know what made me interrupt myself. Oh, I was talking about like the whole moist thing and
the whole
being
nasty.
uncomfortable. Yeah. So that is why so many white women are showing up after the age of 40 because in the midst of all of that, they're caretaking for older parents. They are still taking care of kids.
Right.
Even if their kids are kind of grown up, they're still taking care of them because of the economy and COVID and, mental health. And there are all kinds
Because
of
of neurodivergence.
Yeah, because
You know what I'm
there's so
saying?
many different things.
Yes.
Because neurodivergence was not something that was talked about when we were younger. It
Right.
is being talked about now. More kids have been looked at for this. And then the parents are starting to understand and have access to care that says, oh, me too. That's what's happening in the white world. We need this same thing to be happening
Over here.
in the non-white world.
Right.
Right? We really do, because everybody has the same right to access to care. And everybody has the same right to be able to talk about it. Can you talk a little bit about the Black experience of mental health or any condition that has to do with the brain?
Okay, first of all, as a child, mental health in the Black family, for one, was not talked about. Okay, that was for white folk. Okay, they, that's that stuff that they do. It was kept in the family. Okay, it wasn't called mental illness. They were just different. Okay, that's Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe talks to himself. He sees people, but that's just him. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't need any other help than what we give him. Prayer. Prayer is a big thing. Okay, we're gonna
pray those fidgets right out of you.
Right. We're going to pray the mental illness right away. And, as I got older, like I had a cousin and we were about to have a family reunion and I was talking to my grandmother. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, cousin so-and-so is going to be there and she's bringing her girlfriend, I think, because, she's gay. And you would have thought that the Antichrist had entered the home. I got chastised so bad for calling her gay, for saying that word, because those are things that are not mentioned in the Black family. And the last thing that you want to do is to go to some white person outside of your family, outside of your community, and talk to them about your life and your experiences. And then this man is going to give you a diagnosis. The white man has already given us so many diagnoses already. We don't need any more from them.
Right.
And that's exactly the feeling.
Right. And let me just clear this up, y'all. Okay. Let me just say this, because Salena and I know each other really well.
Yes.
Salena was not saying that being gay is a mental illness. Because
No.
I know there's going to be somebody who listens who's like, what?
No.
That was an example of how there are things that you don't talk about.
Yes.
You don't talk about sexuality. Unless you're talking specifically about your other sex partner.
Right.
Within the okay parameters of the community, that the community has decided for you, and you don't talk about mental illness.
No.
Right. So that was the connection there, y'all. It was not.
Yes, I was not saying that. I'm so sorry. I was just trying to portray to you how stern and how strict it was in my family, and I know is the same way in many African American homes, Hispanic homes. No, you don't do that. You just don't talk about those things. We will handle it within the community, within the home. How dare you?
Right.
How dare you?
Right.
And it was like, it was wrong. And that's why for so long I went without divulging or acknowledging anything that I was experiencing that was causing me issues.
Right.
It was so hard for me. It still is sometimes, it really is, my mom right now to this day will not, I want her to go talk to someone. When she lost her mother, when she lost her parents, she slipped into the deepest depression. And I honestly believe she's still there. But are you crazy? I'm not going to talk to her. I don't need no counselor.
Right.
It's just unheard of. And it's just such a, what do you call that? Like a faux pas? What is that? Like a, yeah, that's what, it's like an omen. Like,
right.
And then they're going to put you on a medication?
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
My stepdad, okay, who married my mom for 35 years, AJ, battled mental illness and self-medicated for years, right up until the time we lost him. And it was because of those stipulations that were put on Hispanic men.
Right.
You don't divulge that stuff. You don't acknowledge that.
Right.
Right up until the day he passed away.
Right.
And I just know if so many minorities, BIPOC, could get the services and the help that they need, our communities, our families would be so much stronger.
Yeah.
And we could do so much more.
Yeah.
And that's just my hope and my prayer. And that's
So
why
with that, what I want to do is, and this is going to be the last thing that I'm going to say. I think it's that profound. I could be wrong, but I think it's that profound. Instead of asking why are so many white women being diagnosed, can we please ask why we're not seeing more non-white folks being diagnosed?
And that's just a mic drop.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.